Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 29th of March, comes to you from London. And in the UK, we're nearing the end of a tax year, which means I'm starting to look at where I want to make investments in the new tax year. So I'm actually doing lots of big scans, scanning global lists, and here's an example. I've scanned all UK stocks, some 1,800 stocks, and I'm scanning for above the weekly cloud, above the daily cloud, above the on balance volume, 21-day average of that. So I just want to see rising volume, and then the corresponding point and figure targets on the 1% and 0.5% charts. I want those targets to be above 20% on both charts. So basically, I'm looking for stocks with more than 20% upside in uptrends and volume rising. And I'll use, these are not part of my scans, but I'll use the shorter term 60-minute charts just for timing the entry. So I scan all 1,800 stocks. I then get that down to a list that have met at least one of the criteria. There's only about 4 stocks in the UK that meet all criteria, so it just shows you how difficult it is to find these stocks. So I've widened the net because I might let one of these criteria go, and then I run through the 800 stocks that produces that, and then I get a list of some 64 stocks that I've gone through and basically looked at all the charts, and these look great, and I've narrowed it down to my top stocks, and there's only 11 of these 12 stocks, and basically the criteria that I'm looking for being met. So this one didn't quite get above the cloud on the lagging line, but we've got good upside targets, looking good on the medium term, and we've got good upside targets. So I'm basically going through. And interestingly, some of these are quite big UK companies. So I'm just looking for my top 10 stocks to invest in. And I'm working with a number of my consultancy clients where we share this data as well. And I'm running these scans on all UK, all Australia, all India, and all US. And all Canada. So basically, a really big exercise, which I'm sharing with my top clients. But I just thought I'd show you the process before we take a look at the market. So really great way to be able to get to the top perfect stocks that you want to be looking for. And of course, it's a challenging market. So if we look at what's going on in the markets generally, the dollar, I did do a post yesterday on LinkedIn watching for this on the Japanese yen, whether we're going to make a higher high or a lower low. Remembering this is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart with the corresponding point and figure target. So long term, medium term, and short term view of the market. And the dollar is just starting to fall below the weekly cloud on the price. So it is looking a little bit like this long-term trend in the dollar is coming to an end. And of course, there's been lots of talk about petrodollars, the end of the dollar. So really, we're just going to keep an eye on that. The euro, therefore, looking stronger against that weaker dollar. And again, just starting to look like it might break the cloud. And if we look at the Japanese yen, which I mentioned yesterday on LinkedIn, would be a lead indicator. And all I did there actually was I went on there and put the key levels. I love this function on Updata. So I just put the key levels on 127, 137. And so that's really what you've just got to watch for on the Japanese yen, and it'll be a lead indicator. It tends to break on the yen first. Sterling sitting at 123.25, nudging higher there, and in fact I'm just waiting on a big Aussie trade myself and looking to the upside targets there. So I'm just sitting waiting for that to happen. We've got targets to 187, 188, 188. Why would I change that large amount of money in sterling into Aussie dollars right now when I can see these targets? I mean, this is the whole point really of the targets, is just about timing. And so for the moment, I'm just sitting on that trade, just waiting. And that's a pretty significant trade for me. Looking at Bitcoin, we're sitting at $28,500. So it's holding on to the gains predominantly. This target to $50,000 is still very much there. Got a lot of work to do long term, but medium term, we are looking bullish. Just watch the shorter term charts. And of course, you're trading Bitcoin, use the 1 minute charts. That's going to be really key. The Nasdaq actually looking pretty good given everything that we've seen. It's done better than the S&P of late and nudging new highs for the year. So whilst all that bad news is there, market is looking good, just waiting for this upside target to be activated. And of course, the big one there is Apple sitting at 157, and that has activated its upside target to 235. So that's a really significant move, some 50% higher. So whilst the news is all bad, we are still seeing some tech resurgence there. Looking at the S&P futures today, we're up nearly 1% on the E-mini. On the Nasdaq, much the same, up 0.8%. So looking like we will open higher. The market is putting last week's bad news on banks behind it. Seeing the FTSE future up 0.5%. Holding on to its long-term uptrend, and medium-term just testing the cloud, but still looking like a recovery. The DAX in Germany obviously had a torrid week last week with Deutsche Bank, but it is still holding on there. And if we look at Asia, we've got Japan up 1.3% and Hang Seng up 2%. So you'd be inclined to say, crisis, what crisis? We're seeing nearly everything going up again. The Aussie market up 0.25% overnight. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Gold sitting at 1965. It did nudge 2000. We've got targets to 2,350 there, long-term targets activated. So looking pretty bullish for gold, especially if we can get back above 2,000 and hold that level. And we did put a post up yesterday about bond yields. The long-term picture for bond yields, we've got to wait for that activation of the downside target. So for the moment, the trend is still bullish despite everything we had last week. And of course, now we're seeing the sentiment improving. That will have an impact on bond yields, so certainly one to watch. Looking at the energy mix, it's all green on the screen this morning, and we did go out to clients. This is our morning report out at 8 o'clock this morning, London time. The only thing we're bearish on was US nat gas. We've got all the targets, crude rising. We've got really interestingly on US nat gas downside targets there in our report. If you want these reports, just let me know. We'll sign you up, and you can have you'll have them every morning in your inbox. And we're seeing here emissions actually breaking higher. Gas prices, we're seeing a reversal there, and German power really key there. We talk about all the key levels. 145 is the level to watch there. And interestingly, if we go back and look at that, we are up across the board 1 hour into the day, 2 hours into the day. So we really are following that report this morning, which we called pretty much all of these things higher. And that's a sentiment improvement. We're seeing carbon just back above 90 euros, so just needs to hold that level realistically. And we are seeing gas prices coming off the floor. So TTF sitting at 43.50, did nudge 45 earlier. And we're just through on that 60-minute cloud, looking more bullish. We do have some downside targets on the 1 minute kicking in. If you're trading gas, remember you need to be looking at those 1 minute targets. In fact, if you're trading anything, you need to be looking at 1 minute point and figure targets. They will come in real time on your screen. You just got to be watching those. And if we look at German power, this data coming from Montel, this data coming from Thomson Reuters Icon, Refinitiv Icon. Remember that Updata runs on 30 different data sources, including Tradeport, Bloomberg, Icon, you name it. So you can just I'm running different data sources into the product here. And we see here on German power, we've got to break above that 145 level. That's going to be really critical. So really the key thing is that markets are looking a bit more perky. We're seeing a lot more green on the screen. So for the moment, we're into a better week. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then. Oh, and by the way, if you like these videos, please just like the videos. Bye for now.